Our world feels more divided than ever.
My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
Why do you lie?
Donald,
Why do you lie?
Everywhere we look, it feels like everything is a dichotomy. It's either for or against. It is left or right. It is yes or no. But what if there is a way to break through the noise and reconnect through meaningful conversations? My name is Kevin, and I have too many interests, not enough time, and a drive to better understand our world. Let's dive in. 1. How polarization is affecting us. As stated in the intro, everywhere we look, it seems that everything is black and white, and there is no more space for grays. Those divides have an enormous impact on our relationships. It could be with our friends, with our family, or even in the workplace. For example, did it ever happen that you were talking with a friend and one very sensitive topic, such as abortion, for example, popped up, and at this moment, the conversation just turned sour? It could be that you even tried to dodge the question because you feared the potential confrontation that comes from it. But in our society, it becomes very taboo to actually avoid those questions. We're not only asked to have those discussions, but we're asked to take sides. And taking sides can feel very uncomfortable depending on the situation we are in. So why do we have to take sides on those topics? Well, there is a very interesting paper published in 1999 by Cass Sunstein, and it's called The Law of Polarization. You can find a link to this paper in the description. Sunstein was interested to understand, why do people polarize when they start exchanging on certain topics? And what he found out is extremely interesting. He found out that when people discuss together certain topics, they would end up on more extreme positions than where they were previously. And that is a bit counterintuitive, because we would think, thanks to discussions, we would be able to find a middle ground and be more neutral on our positions. According to Sunstein, there's two main reasons why polarization happens. The first one is informational. And that means that when someone doesn't know much about a topic, he will look for information to try to understand what are the arguments and what is at stake. And it can happen that he found someone speaking confidently on the topic, and he will then follow his opinion without really challenging it. The second driver to polarization is reputational. And that means that we are social animals. Therefore, we really want to fit in, and we're scared of being excluded from a particular group. And he found out that even when we're extremely convinced of our position on a certain topic, we will end up following the group if we see that they support another position. There is an extremely interesting study that was made on this, where experimenters asked the participants to say which line on a piece of paper was longer. And in certain cases, the line was much, much longer than the other one. So it was quite easy for the participant to say, well, this one is longer. But of course, only one of the participants was a real participant. The others were all actors that were asked to simply show the wrong line, the shortest one, as the longest line. And it turns out that even when we see with our own eyes that one line is much longer, when there is this social pressure happening, many of the participants agreed with the consensus because they didn't want to be excluded from the group. I will also add the link of this study in the description for you. So to sum it up, those social pressures, they push us to take sides on topics even when we don't actually believe them. And even worse than that, in our rush to take sides, we are losing our ability to think deeply and critically. Did that ever happen to you? Maybe in the workplace, that you were part of a discussion, but your position was strongly different than the consensus around you. At this time, did you feel that you could really state your opinion? Or did you feel that there was a social pressure that pushed you to at least not say what you really believed, to avoid maybe hurting your reputation. 2. Purpose of this channel. Well, the purpose of this channel is exactly this. We want to move behind those emotions and social pressure, and rather being able to dig deeply into those topics, to use our reason and to have meaningful conversations to better understand our world. So we won't blindly accept or reject any viewpoint, because the goal is to be open to other beliefs and arguments and to have a sense of curiosity for each topics that we discuss. We will explore a range of different thinkers, and we will not see their ideas as absolute truths, but rather as an ongoing part of our journey. So this channel is rooted in fallibilism, which means that we don't believe that we own the truth, but rather that we're constantly evolving in our understanding of our world. So join us in thinking independently and having those meaningful conversations to engage our world with an open mind. 3. Importance of critical thinking. The tool that we will use to support our endeavor is critical thinking. And critical thinking is questioning rather than simply accepting and taking sides. And that will help us to see beyond our own biases and connect more deeply. To exemplify the purpose of this story, I want to use a little story, the allegory of the cave from Plato. Plato tells us that there are prisoners in a cave, and those prisoners are bound to look only at the wall in front of them. Behind them, there is a fire, so the only thing that the prisoners see their whole life are only the shadows of the object and the people walking between them and the fire. But one day, one of the prisoners manages to escape. And as he turns around, he sees the fire, and he understands that he only perceived a very limited view of his reality, because he only saw the shadows rather than the real objects. And it gets even better than that, because he goes outside of the cave, and he sees the grass, he sees the sun, and he feels the wind on his face. Can you imagine how amazing an experience it is for him? Well, maybe we're not so far from the prisoner. Maybe everything that we perceived until now, because it was unquestioned, was only a small part of reality. And by using our critical thinking, we're now able to dive deeper and understand what really is, rather than what our environment and social pressure is trying to ask us to believe. To sum it up, I believe that our world is currently extremely divided, but there is a solution to that. If we develop our critical thinking abilities, we will be able to reconnect with everybody else around us and start having those meaningful conversations. And what do you think? Do you agree that our world is divided? And if so, what, in your opinion, are the main drivers of those divides? On top of that, do you think that it's still possible to state unconventional opinions, or it became a very taboo thing to do? In the next video, we will discuss one of the most foundational part of critical thinking, and it's asking, what does it mean to really know something? We will explore the mystery of knowledge and why it's been at the heart of philosophical discussions for centuries. See you on the next one.